Solimano, President, General Manager of Killington Piker Resorts. It's great to have you here. It's the Mike and Mike show. This is great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, just starting at the top, you've had to close down the season early. I mean, not the type of season that you had envisioned for the resort, whether it be for Pico or for Killington. And a tough decision. A lot went into it. I know a decision that you and your team did not make lightly, and a lot of folks are frustrated with that. But I think that you did the right thing for the health and welfare of everyone in our community as well as our guests. So maybe just give you a minute to talk a little bit about that and the process that went into it.
Yeah, I think when we first started realizing it was, COVID was a real serious issue was sort of the end of that week. And we started putting some safeguards in place and social distancing, and we were trying to come up with a whole bunch of plans like everybody on the fly. And I think we did a decent job with that, but then we started to realize that it was moving really quickly, and the push to start closing more and more and not having people congregate was kind of growing quickly. And so, we were open on that Saturday and planning to open on Sunday, and we decided that it just didn't make sense. And, I think right after that, the governor decided to pretty much close all businesses in the state. And I think all that has helped to keep, the COVID rate in Vermont down. So I think that clearly was the right decision.
No, definitely. And I think it's steps like that you took and other, big companies took. We've been able to weather the storm as best we can. And, something that, and as I took the job here at the chamber, something that I was brought into very quickly on is the pride that people have with the number of ski days and the 100-day club. And that obviously wasn't going to happen for a lot of people because of just sheer numbers of when you were open. But you took it upon yourself to take some steps to kind of ensure that people could still have that title.
Yeah, I mean, we did have a decent amount of people that made it. The last couple of years, we've had several hundred that have made it. But, with the shortened season, we didn't, we had a lot of people that were 70, 80, 90 days. Some were 1 or 2 days away. And I think that was pretty sad for them. I totally understand it. It's been it's been a cool thing. People aspire to. And yeah, so what we did is we went and came up with some way to add some other people in. We didn't do exact simple math, and we came up with if you skied 70 days, we'd get you in the club. And part of that was, hey, how many hats do we have and bumper stickers and those types of things, and try to be fair. And I think most people appreciated it. And I don't think too many of the people that made it to 100 were offended that we included a couple others, sort of like, the baseball thing. They had maybe a little asterisk on their name that they didn't officially get in.
Well, I think it's great that you kind of gave everyone a dispensation if they couldn't make it, if they were on track. So kudos to you guys for doing that. It is important for a lot of people. So, and going back to the closure, Mike, is that you have a huge staff under you. You have a number of employees, internationals, locals, people that move up to the area, and they were all kind of ending much earlier than they had planned, and they were looking forward to that revenue. And of course, we have a pretty good unemployment program here in the state of Vermont. It was pressed, a lot, but you guys did a lot of great things to just help in a little way to just make things a little easier for some of those employees and some of the people in our community as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things we did, I've said it a lot, but, we're owned by a family, a family-owned ski business, and it's, we definitely are making different decisions than owners have in the past for us, no doubt. And, one of the first things is we closed, and for all the staff that were on the previous week, we paid everybody, on staff, probably 1,500 people for the following week. And then, we did get back down to our full-time year-round staff. But, Powder's been, I think, really, really great to everybody. And then with that, obviously, I think what happened was we had 5 base lodges open. So we clearly had a bunch of food in refrigerators, and we were starting to move that around and trying to talk about what we could do to help some of our own team that were still in the area. As you mentioned, we had internationals still in some of our employee housing. So yeah, we decided to do that first food drive, and it was well received. As we started to do it, then we realized, we should supplement what was really in our freezers, and we really bought a lot of the food. And, that went over so well. That's why we decided to do the second one, and, and involve the whole community. And so that worked really well. And, it's pretty neat. Now, obviously the town's doing it, we've given them what is left over, and they're doing, I call it the pop-up, kind of food bank down at the Butternut. So that's awesome. And we're trying to continue to work with that. And, we want to keep helping any way we can.
Well, I think it's a great combination, actually. And Mike, you guys have tremendous purchase power because you purchase a lot of food throughout the year. So the way the program, for those of you who are watching out there, the way the program is working is Killington's using its purchase power to get really great deals and pricing on food, and they're buying a lot of it from locally produced farmers and locally produced things within the state of Vermont. So those dollars that are being raised through the Killington Relief Fund are going right back into the farmers' pockets, people in Vermont, and it's also, the food is obviously helping feed local folks. So I think it's just a great connection between the business community and the town and the people within the town. And I think it's a great program, and I believe that there's another one planned in June as well.
Yeah, one of the things I would say is, that we had read about the farmers dumping milk, and it just seemed crazy. And we thought, oh, well, we could buy the milk and give it away. And we started talking to some of our, the groups that sell us cheese, and the same thing was happening with them. And it was interesting, after we did that food drive, I got an email from one of our team members who said someone that works for them seasonally in the winter sent them a message and said, hey, we have a farm, and we had to dump milk last week, but because Killington bought this milk this week, we were able to get money for the milk that we had that we couldn't the previous week. So that was pretty cool, because that person had worked seasonally for us in like guest service and also ran a farm. So it was kind of cool that came full circle.
Yeah, that's in situations like this, that's how things come. It's a grassroots kind of effort. So that's great to hear. So, we've all been saying this to ourselves, this too shall pass, and we will eventually get back to some semblance of normalcy, but we're going to have to change our behavior kind of in the meantime. And I know people are anxious for the summer to arrive and for activities to start back again. And, I was talking with some folks the other day. We have great socially distancing activities here, whether it be canoeing and kayaking and mountain biking. What is the forecast, do you think, for the resort to be able to have the mountain bike park opened up, maybe the adventure center, and possibly your golf facility as well?
Yeah, we're working pretty hard on all those right now. So, we're still working on the exact date, but, I think golf course will be open probably at the end of May. We're still working on the exact timing. And then right after that, we'll probably get mountain biking going. We're going to go a little slow, just to understand what we have to do, how do we do it safely for our employees and our guests. So I think the plan for mountain biking would be to get snow shed going, probably without much facilities, probably not food and beverage or any of those, just start open, maybe either just for pass holders or on a limited basis to start, and, maybe weekends, and then we'll kind of continue to gear up. But, we definitely want to start providing activities for people. We think mountain biking and golf are pretty easy. Of course, the kind of $1 million question is always like, hey, why can't you open for skiing, right? And I think I would just throw that out that, I think the challenge has been the governor's, been careful to not want people coming from out of state. They've wanted us to limit to 10 people in gatherings. So clearly, I think there's a difference between opening a golf course where you have tee times and you have a lot of social distancing, and even mountain biking where, a big early season mountain bike weekend could have 100 or 200 people. If we opened for skiing, even in May, we were getting 1,000 people, or maybe 2,000 with some of the spectators. So part of the challenge is clearly we have enough snow on Superstar, and we'd love to open it. That's our brand. And, but I think the struggle is, without bringing people from other states and really trying to limit people, we haven't figured a way that we can do that. So, that's kind of the answer, and why it sort of makes, I think it'll be confusing for people. Hey, how can you open the golf course if you didn't open for skiing? But the demand level is so different. I think the other thing is there's a whole bunch of golf courses open. So not everybody in Vermont or everyone in New England wants to come. There's no skiing open. And if we
Right.
open skiing, first time in my life, I think I'm worried about having too many people at the resort, right? But I mean, I think in this world, I think it's the prudent thing to do, and trying to be a good corporate citizen. That's kind of where we're at.
So let's, as we kind of wrap up, let's stick with that. So moving forward, the two things that I think are really noteworthy. Number one, there are a lot of specialty pass programs that you guys put out. We utilize one, the Merchant Pass program, and for your passes for next year, you've basically held the line on any increase, which I think is great. So it's still so folks can guarantee and kind of budget that moving into to the next ski season. Skiing and riding, excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. So we've done a couple things on the Merchant Pass. We kept that price the same. We know this has been tough for the local group, and I think that from for the other pass holders, the big things we've done is we gave some credits for people for certain passes for shortened season. We're also trying to be flexible. I mean, I think that's the word that everybody in this world has to be these days. Nobody knows what next month's going to be like, or in the fall, or next winter. I mean, we're optimistic. I mean, we have a lot of good things going on. I think, I think our sports, being outdoors, do lend themselves to, to social distancing, but it's going to be different. And we want to make sure pass holders know that, we're going to be flexible. That's why, we added in a pass holder promise where we're saying, buy by the deadline and we'll still give you a refund by November 20th, because we know a lot of people are like, hey, I want to do it, but I also want to make sure I don't know what it's going to be like in the fall. And
sure.
We don't know what it's going to be like either, but, we're trying to be flexible and try to work with everybody. And, and on the flip side, we're still hopeful that we'll have a good summer.
And then the other thing I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about is the much anticipated new K1 base lodge. So obviously you had a shutdown, which pushed things back a little bit, but it sounds like you have a good plan for the restart of the construction and a timeline moving forward for the eventual completion.
Yeah, and they are still actually working on the building, even though we did announce that the completion won't happen until next year. Mainly it's because taking a month and a half or 2 months off, our timeline was so tight that we were going to barely get open, say by Thanksgiving was the goal. And that was the timeline with knocking the building down, 2 months ago. And so clearly we weren't able to do that with COVID. So, for us, we looked at the timeline and said, there's just no way that's going to happen, because we would need to knock the building down now. And then there's a good chance we wouldn't have a K1 building. We wouldn't have the new one finished, and we would have lost the old one. So that didn't make a lot of sense. So, what we're doing now is we're still doing some work up there. We have some crews doing work for the next month or two. And then the phase 2 piece will move to next spring. So, we're trying to do what we can to kind of continue to move the timeline up. But clearly this winter was not achievable for us.
Right. So, Mike, thanks so much. Thank you for all your hard work. Great communication coming out of the resort on what's going on, the events that you still have going on. Thank you for your collaborations with the community, with the town. It's just fantastic to see. We had talked about before we went on, on the record about OneKillington, and that's something that we are all aspiring to. And it's so great to have a partner with you in the resort.
Yeah, I mean, we all came up with that tagline, I don't know, 7 years ago or something. And I think as this, usually the tough times kind of show how things are going to work. And I think the community at large is really doing a great job. And I think been a model. I mean, there's been a lot of other communities in Vermont that said they've kind of followed what some of the things we've been doing, working all together and taking that as a model for other towns. So that's pretty neat. So, I thank you for your leadership there as well. And all the people in the town, the residents, the businesses, I think it's everybody's needs to continue to look out for each other.
Well said. Mike, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you soon.